I'd have to bring you down to earth too. I know this verse hurts you. I tell you what, I give you advice. I'm feeling nice. Your vices could influence your writing if you weren't biting. Y'all trying to be people that...
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We got an AEW Dynamite to review from September the 8th, 2021. All right, before we get into this, I got a programming note. Today is my mom's birthday. So in the comment section, would you please put down happy birthday, Mama Slade? I would appreciate that. Thank you kindly. She would be 63. So second thing, I saw on the internet.com that Lee Moriarty has signed with AEW. He was signed on Dark. So I want to take some time to talk about that. I've seen very little of Lee Moriarty. I've watched his matches, but I've seen very little of him. He was pretty good from what I saw. I think I forget where exactly I saw him. But the fact that he didn't come very heavily touted by the dirt sheets or even AEW, the account, the Twitter account or anything like that. It was just kind of like repeated through the dirt sheets, which makes me think maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. I don't know. Is he all elite? If somebody knows if he's all elite or not, let me know in the comment section. But I think it's a good pickup for them. You know, he is what they need in terms of diversity. And I know somebody wrote some diversity piece because I saw some of the Fightful reporters were pretty upset that somebody wrote an article about AEW that was, I guess, negative. And I just guessed that it had something to do with race because, like, I'll tell you why. Because one, I saw Lee Moriarty got signed. I was like, that's random. And then, like, 30 minutes later, I see Powerhouse Hobbs versus Dante Martin. I'm like, oh, okay. Somebody must have went through the card and said, where are the black people at? And, look, they should not, look, race nagging is what they asked for. I don't think they should bend and fold to that kind of stuff. But it is what it is. I mean, they wanted to tout being progressive. This is what comes with it. But Lee Moriarty as an individual talent is really good. At least from what I saw, I haven't seen a hell of a lot of him. But what I have seen, I can give him a thumbs up. It's a good signing from him. I don't think he's an older guy. I think he's pretty young. So this was pretty good. You know, hopefully he can get some opportunities. He can get to cut promos, get to be, you know, work a character. And he's just not one of these guys that they signed to shove on Dark. And, you know, hopefully that's not the case. You know, because Dark is full of talent. You know, it just is. I just refuse to watch it. You know, I watched too much of this shit already. I watched too much wrestling. Like, I used to do weekly reviews of Ring of Honor. Okay? I stopped doing it because they got the women's tournament. Plus, I think it's easier on my mind and my voice for me not to do Ring of Honor right now. But I will be doing the pay-per-view when it comes. All right, I finally got to get to Dynamite. I've been talking too much. All right, so the first match, Malachi Black versus Dustin Rhodes. Malachi Black wins with a spin kick to the fatty part of the shoulder. This match it started out good. Then it turned into an utter disaster. For starters, I have no idea why did Dustin go? Who blew the power slam spot? Because Dustin went all the way around in a circle. I'm guessing Malachi Black blew the spot, or it was Dustin early, and I think it was Black that blew the spot because later they blew the code red spot too, and that was, I believe, Malachi Black who blew that spot. I think Black blew both of those spots. I won't be sure. Because I only watched this match once. And I'm not the kind of person that's going to go through and nitpick and get it down to the granular details. I just say it didn't work. But Dustin has done the code red spot before. And he's also done the Canadian Destroyer spot. And he's done both of those things pretty fine. So to me, it seemed like it might have been Malachi Black that botched the spot. Pretty wild, dog. But that, and plus also he botched his black mask. Like, bro, you should have just said we need to do that again. It looks like shit. You know, put your foot on the ropes or something like that. It looks like shit. Let's do it again. You know, gotta think on your toes, dog. Match was but what made me laugh is after he kicked him in the upper part of the shoulder. Dustin was spitting out blood. I was like, oh God. Dustin is just like, this was part of the story, so we're going to do it. I'm going to do it. Come on, man. You got to be able to think on the fly. Just because it's in the program. Everybody saw it. The camera was right there, dog. I know Dustin probably didn't know that the camera didn't pick it up, so maybe he was just kind of like, I'm just going to, take this blood pill because, just in case. But nah, come on, man. Nobody saw it. It was bullshit. Now they ended up announcing Malachi Black versus Cody for the September 22nd Arthur Ashe show. All right. I mean, we're just gonna announce it. We're not gonna have a big Cody return or anything like that. We're just gonna announce the match. Whatever. Look, I don't see Cody seems like he's gonna be. I mean, look, he's getting first dibs at Malachi Black, but they kind of trying to move away from Cody. It seems like he's working less and less. He's not working nearly as much as he used to. Like, there was a point in time where Cody was on every single episode of Dynamite, doing something, talking, wrestling, doing something. Now Cody starts taking almost a month off at a time and that kind of thing. I think he's trying to do it to stay fresh, which is smart. But it's also killing his relevance because he's not involved with everybody else when they're doing the big Daniel Bryan stuff or Bryan Danielson or CM Punk stuff and all that stuff. But we'll get to that in a second. There was a vignette for the Lucha Brothers winning the tag team championships. They said that anybody willing to suffer can come take them from them. Eddie Kingston and Miro had segments. Miro is hilarious. He says, "I'm going to offer your broken bones to my bride and your soul to my God." Miro as this psychotic, this psychotic Templar knight. I mean, if he was in WWE, Vince would have him like in a red cross and one of those goddamn helmets. He looked like a knight out of the medieval times. But it's great. It's fantastic. So Punk comes out there and he doesn't have anything to say. I mean, he just doesn't. He says good things about Auntie Linda, who raised Brian Pillman Jr. He shielded for the rest of the show. Basically said, "Oh yeah, having a match is like riding a bike, and I'm back." Like, okay, he soaked up a lot of time. Punk's job is to draw the viewers. That's his job. He's a tent pole. He only exists to draw in the viewers. He says, CM Punk is going to be here, and so you can stick around and watch it. He ain't really got nothing to say. And everybody should have known that. Even I knew that. So he's talking about what's next. He asks the crowd what's next for CM Punk. Taz gets up and just spazzes out. "Don't you dare mention no members of Team Taz." And Punk is like everybody, like, where did this come from? I'm not thinking about Hook. But don't you mention Hook. Don't you mention Hobbs. Don't you mention Starks. And Punk then turns it on him. Says, "Bring me Hobbs. Bring me Hook. Bring me Starks. Beat me if you can. Survive if I let you." Okay. I like that. He's obviously not going to fight Taz, so that's not going to happen. The big match, of course, is Hobbs. I like Hobbs. I like Starks. I think Starks should get the match. I think he's going to end up wrestling both of them probably at different times. These are obviously going to be TV matches. They're not going to be, pay-per-view matches. So I can see him. They're going to probably want him to wrestle at the Arthur Ashe show. And it seemed like he might get Will Hobbs because Will Hobbs was in the next match. But this segment was Punk has nothing to say. He just had nothing. And Taz just came out there with just like random heels. It's like, okay, sure. Just because I like Hobbs and I like Starks, I'm gonna give it a pass. But next time CM Punk makes an appearance, he needs to have something to say. He needs to have a message and not just be out there talking. Because that's what The Miz does. And I fucking hate that. I hate when people are talking and they don't have anything to say. All right, so the next match, Powerhouse Hobbs versus Dante Martin. Hobbs wins with a vicious spine buster. This match was pretty solid. It told a sensible story of Hobbs just being overpowering and dominant, and Dante Martin, who was quick and agile. Dante Martin man, he's light skinned. Like, he's super light skinned. And he's an awkward looking kid too. Like, I think he's still only like 19 or something like that. Like, he's really thin. The match ends with a spine buster, which everybody screamed power bomb, but it was a spine buster. And Hobbs did not pin him immediately. Instead, he was wobbling. Like, after the spine buster, he was like, whoop, 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 whoop. And then he pinned him. And I was like, I went to Twitter because I thought that was weird, and my vision is really bad. And I think somebody said that he might have gotten knocked out on one of the high flying moves. And I was like, well, I hope not. I hope he's all right. He hit the spine buster pretty sweet. Did he knock himself out with the spine buster? I don't know. But hopefully Hobbs is all right. Santana and Ortiz cut a promo saying they're coming for the top spot and that they're the best. Interesting. Then we went to Ruby, I hope I call her Ruby Riott. God dang it. Ruby Soho. And she said she didn't want anybody to think that what she did was a fluke. So she wants to wrestle again tonight. Britt Baker comes out there and they get into a little bit of a tiff, to which Britt Baker says, I'm going to send you back to catering where you've been for the last 4 years. Of course, I was like, oh. I mean, it was a solid line. It wasn't bad. Ruby didn't have much to say before that. She basically just said that Britt Baker gives herself all of these nicknames, because she doesn't want people to know who she really is. And that, she said, this is my block now. And I'm like, okay. All right. They trying to build up this whole thing off of Ruby and Britt. They are old friends. I guess that's what I'm looking at. Where they're old friends, they're old partners or something like that. But now Britt's at the top of her game. I think it's a little bit rushed. I think Ruby, despite the fact that she was on WWE TV for a while, we still don't know who she is. Like WWE did a terrible job of letting us know who Ruby Riott is and telling her story. That's what we really should be doing. Instead of rushing her to have matches, what we should be doing is we should do a sit-down interview with Ruby Soho and explain like where she comes from. Now that she won the title, does she have any relationships with any other people on the roster? And that's what she could have said. Me and Britt, we worked together on the Independence. I know her pretty well. Yada, yada, yada. And then maybe the next week, Britt Baker approaches her and says like, oh, you think you're special because you think you know me or whatever like that or something like that. And that would have been better. Like, you still, just because she was a star from WWE TV, and that's small s star, by the way, then we still should be telling people who these people are. We still should be letting them know who they are. Now, if you are, like, you don't have to reintroduce Hulk Hogan, right? People know who Hulk Hogan is. You probably don't need to reintroduce CM Punk. You probably don't need to reintroduce Daniel Bryan. But most of the people that you sign, that should be your first thing. And this is WWE too. When you call somebody up from SmackDown, when you call somebody from SmackDown, you call somebody up from NXT or whatever, don't just do a random video package. Do a backstage interview. This is when you start doing your sit downs. When maybe they have an opening match and then they have a post match where they get to talk about who they are, where they come from, all this kind of stuff. Even if you got to kayfabe it. But we should be trying to build a relationship between the audience and the wrestler constantly building that relationship between the audience and the wrestler. That is a huge problem in wrestling. And another thing is people talking with their back to the camera. That's, oh God. I'm glad Vince started telling people to stop doing that, because they used to do it back in the 80s and stuff too. It used to make some sense because, sometimes wrestlers would be flexing, like Hulk Hogan would be flexing or something like that, and his back could be to the camera. But I just noticed, like, in recent years how annoying it is when you can't see people talking, like, and they're not looking at you, or they're looking at the interviewer or something like that. They should always be looking at the camera, always interact with the audience. It's just basic, movie stuff. Like, in movies, they don't always shoot people from behind. Sometimes they do. They shoot you from behind if you're in front of somebody and they want to shoot that person's reactions. But ultimately, you should always be facing the camera. Just just basic movie shit. All right, so Dan Lambert cut a promo. He basically says that he congratulated AEW on bringing in some more skinny dorks, and said that no matter how you try to cover it up, there's only two real men in AEW. That's Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. And anyone thinks that they can shut these guys up, they need to try it. So, of course, Tony Schiavone was like, he's an old man yelling at the clouds. That was a little on the nose, Tony. just say, just Jim Cornette gimmick. Just say it, But Lambert is really good. Lambert is awesome. He doesn't interact with the crowd, which is a good thing, but he feeds the crowd like he fed the crowd the stupid AEW chant. I'm 100% against crowds chanting for the promotion and not chanting for wrestlers. Chant for the wrestlers, not the promotion. God damn. Come on, man. In any event, it was a good segment. Matt Hardy wants to cut Orange Cassidy's hair. I don't know why. Matt Hardy is in the lurch. Remember when Matt Hardy came in, when it was such hoopla about Matt Hardy coming in? Yeah, I remember those days too. And then everybody saw that he was walking like he walked on stilts, and it just wasn't the same. Matt Hardy has been walking like that for a few years now. Like, his mobility is shot. Why he even has matches, I have no idea. We need to start talking about winding down Matt Hardy. I know he wants to have one more run with Jeff, but it might not make it, dog. He might not make it. Anyway, he wants to have a Lucha das Puertas. Is that what it calls? Lucha das Puertas? The bet match. I guess when they put his hair on the line. Okay. Go for it. So MJF comes out, and this was the segment of the night, but not for the reason you think. So MJF comes out there, and he talks about, he beat Jericho 3 times, and he beat Jericho again clean on Sunday, but Jericho cheated, and then he starts calling Cincinnati shit Cincinnati, which was great. Then he spent some time ragging on the audience. Then he found Brian Pillman's sister, ragged on her. This led Brian Pillman Jr. to come out there to defend the honor of Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm out here to defend the honor of Cincinnati, Ohio. Look, he's wearing a Bengals jersey too. Was that his dad's? Well, what number did Brian Pillman play when he played for the Bengals? I don't remember, but I think he might have had his dad's jersey, well, at least his dad's jersey number. In any event, it's ridiculous. I'm going to defend the honor of Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm 100% Ohio slander. I will slander Ohio all day. I love slandering Ohio. They suck. In any event, he comes out there, and then MJF goes into his shock jock routine, where he just kind of says ooh and ahs things, to try to get cheap heat. Called his mom Methany, saying that she should have swallowed him. I was just kind of like, wow, bro. Like, that's some harsh stuff. I get it that, it ain't real, but you're working a little stiff. That's a little too stiff. Especially since it's based on reality. Like, his mom really did have a problem. And we all saw it because it was on Dark Side of the Ring. And I appreciate what they were trying to do. They were trying to really get the crowd behind Brian Pillman. And, give him something. And he showed some pretty good fire here, But the star of the show was what they did with Wardlow. The B story in this whole thing. The A story was just MJF running his mouth, which is what he does. He didn't really have anything to say either outside of Ohio sucks, Ohio is mid, or whatever. The B story is when Wardlow is protecting him from Brian Pillman as he talks shit about Brian Pillman's mama. And MJF then dismisses Wardlow and says, you go stand in the corner. And so MJF is almost daring Pillman to do something. Pillman, of course, since the giant big guy is not in the way anymore, he starts beating MJF's ass. And Wardlow stands there and watches. He just stands there and watches it happen. And then people are cheering. They're not really cheering that Pillman is beating up MJF. They're cheering because Wardlow was just standing there watching and letting it happen. And then when he moves in, he pulls Pillman off of him, the crowd boos. You know? And then, Pillman escapes him, and Wardlow's in the corner again, just watching as Pillman beats up on MJF, and the crowd is back into it. They're like, yay! And then, of course, he pulls him off again. And I was like, that's good shit. That's good shit. That was the best stuff on the show. Because it was gripping. It was dramatic. It was what you want. I'll never forget. This is one of my favorite things. And it took me forever to see this match. But do you remember New Year's Revolution? What was it, 2005 or 2006? It was the match where Triple H won the title back in Puerto Rico. And he had the opportunity to save Batista. And he just sat back down. He was kind of like, fuck Batista. Let him get eliminated. Like, that was so dramatic. And it felt the same here, where he was kind of like, it's so subtle, but at the same time, in its subtlety, it takes over the scene. Now, I think what they should have done is trim this segment. It was too long, I think. Like, all the stuff about Cincinnati and all that crap, he could have cut all that stuff out and maybe just immediately started dissing some people in the crowd who were eyeballing him and all that kind of stuff. Or, him piggybacking off of CM Punk and saying negative things about Auntie Linda or whatever. And then we bring Pillman out there. We could have done it a little bit faster. But they wanted to give these guys some time to really build the story and get over. And that's important. And it works. This was good. I like this. So the next segment was Jamie Hayter versus Ruby Soho. In a match where I was sure somebody got hurt. So Ruby Soho was up on Jamie Hayter's shoulders like a doomsday device. Somehow, I guess Jamie Hayter tripped over her own feet. And both just went tumbling down. And they both got up pretty quickly. Soho ends up winning with, I think, destination kick. I think that's what they called it now, or detonation kick, or whatever they're calling it. Then I saw on the internet that the post-match, I think somebody was in the building, and they talked about Ruby was favoring her neck after the match, and that she might be hurt. I hope not. I really hope not. That would suck. Now, I'm not like these other weirdos out here who, like, somebody has a heart problem or gets injured and I laugh at them. Like, no. Like, this stuff is terrible. They can live with this shit for the rest of their lives. These injuries linger. Even if you get healed up, that shit lingers. I don't want that shit to happen to anybody. So hopefully she's okay. I didn't care about this match at all. And it seemed to me like Jamie Hayter, who they just brought in 2 weeks ago, was being the heater for Britt Baker. She's already doing jobs. That's like, whatever. She lost a handicap match. Now she lost this match too. Then they did a vignette for Cage and Starks. Who cares? I'm tired of Cage. Cage is garbage. Starks is great, but they don't use him enough. And Cage, like I said, is garbage. The fourth match was the Pinnacle, FTR and Shawn Spears versus the Dark Order, Stu Grayson, Evil Uno, and John Silver. John Silver got pinned. This match was too long. I didn't care about it. And the Dark Order fought afterwards. The whole thing with the Dark Order is that they're fighting each other now. They devolved to throwing punches at one another. Anna Jay is trying to take over as the leader of the Dark Order. She's telling the boys to shape up. Get it together. We're a family. But at the same time as she's marching to the ring, Ty Conti is holding her back. Saying, nope, let them do what they doing. And I'm just sitting here like, all right, so I'm guessing Anna Jay, who has like a whole 8 months of experience, is going to end up being the leader of the Dark Order. Hopefully that's not the direction they go in. But I noticed that some of the members weren't there. And now that members are throwing fists at each other, I think we can safely say that the Dark Order is done. Or at least hopefully it's done. It should have been done a long time ago, dog. I know this is just a build up to them getting back together, which is almost always the case. It sucked. Tully Blanchard talked about he led the Pinnacle and that, he's a leader. But what Sting is doing, Sting is capitalizing on Darby Allin. So he went to Tony Khan. He said he wants Shawn Spears versus Darby Allin. And I just wrote down, why? Why? Why do you want that? Why do you want to do that to us? Why do you want to perpetrate this upon the American public. Why? Didn't we get enough Sean Spears already? I got too much Sean Spears in my diet. Too much. Oh no. Couldn't you do, I want FTR versus Sting and Darby Allin or something? That would have been fun. Sting already wrestled on TV. Well, I guess you don't want to beat FTR, but come on, man. Do something fun. Not Sean Spears and Darby Allin. That sucks. Sammy Guevara came out there to do his card gimmick. I couldn't read it because the print was too small. It said something about him having a good summer. That's what my brother told me. So I'm going to take his word for it. I'm just going to guess he didn't do anything special like challenge for the world title in this joint. Brian Pillman talked about MJF knocking out Griff Garrison with the Dynamite Diamond Ring and said he wants to fight him on September the 22nd. And I thought, that's an oddly specific amount of time. That's like 3 weeks away. Why would you want to? Why? I'm so mad I'm going to challenge you to a fight in 3 weeks. It's like, it should have been like, I'll fight you on Rampage. You know, like, it's in 2 or 3 days. I'll knock your ass out right then and there. And then that's when somebody says, well, you know, that's when the Acclaim should have came in and like, nope. You got to fight me on Rampage. You know, kick the can down the road or something like that. But, you know, I want to fight you September the 22nd at Arthur Ashe Stadium. I'm like, well, okay. Well, Max Caster is back. That's great. Moving on. Let's talk about the Elite. So the Elite are in the ring with Tony Schiavone, and Don Callis gets on the microphone and starts touting about the PWI Top 500, to which Kenny Omega is number 1. And you know what? I don't care about this because it's for starters, it's kayfabe. But the second thing is, I think that when you look at those silly lists like that, you have to believe most of the WWE audience does not buy these stupid lists. And I'll sit down and I think about it. Like, I saw Brian Alvarez is now writing articles for Sports Illustrated. And I said to myself, what would possess Sports Illustrated to do this? And then I thought about it and I was like, it's the incentive structure. You know, WWE's fans does not really consume a lot of the dirt sheet media. You know, like, they don't really care that much about the dirt sheet media. You know, so they're not really consuming, you know, PW Insider or, you know, Figure 4 Online, whatever the fuck it's called, The Observer and all that kind of stuff. They're not really consuming a lot of that shit. So when you think about that and you think about their obvious slant, their slant is based a lot on what their audience wants. And that's kind of how I took this whole PWI thing. When they started talking about it, I was like, I don't know how that works anyway. Like, I'm an older school wrestling fan, but I've never been the guy who's been into the magazines. So I don't know how it works. I just know this kayfabe, and it doesn't matter. So people who are like really upset that Kenny Omega was number 1, I was like, shrug. You know, like, who cares? It's like one of those observer things. Like, I don't give a shit. Nobody cares. But I did see that they did ruffle some feathers. Of the few WWE fans who do read the dirt sheets, they were kind of pissed off about this because it's obvious that Roman Reigns should not have been number 2. But it's a kayfabe list that's going to obviously lean towards people who are going to pay for it. And the people who are going to pay for it are more likely to be AEW fans. That's just kind of how it is. And that's how the dirt sheets work. They lean towards their fan base. Newsflash. Let's put an asterisk right there. That's how all media works. Okay? All media just leans towards into whoever is paying. If you're paying, then they're going to tell you that you're right. All right? They're going to give you validation, confirmation bias. That's how that works. So I don't give a shit about the PWI 100. I wouldn't care if Roman Reigns was number 1. It's a mark thing. Please don't get upset about that. You know, have sex. In any event, Don Callis said that Kenny Omega is the best and that the Young Bucks are the best. Then he says that they brought back their best friend, who is Adam Cole. Now, Adam Cole did not come out with the Elite. He had to come out by himself. He wanted to get, because they wanted to get the pop. Got to get the pop, baby. He came out. They got a pretty good reaction. He got a better reaction with the Adam Cole, baby. Then it was story time with Adam Cole, baby. And he confronted Tony Schiavone about his quote unquote relationship with Britt Baker, and basically was being a jealous boyfriend and told him he's gonna knock him out if he keeps looking at his girlfriend, which is fine. get some heat on you. Why not? Then he called AEW the best because of the elite, and that all of these guys are once in a generation tag teams, and everybody should be thanking them. Everybody should be kissing their feet because of how great AEW is, and it's all because of the elite. Then he says he's going to make his debut next week, his in-ring debut, and it's against Frankie by God Kazarian, the Elite Hunter. He's finally going to wrestle a member of the Elite. I think he wrestled a member of the Elite in Doc Gallows, and that member of the Elite escaped him. So now this Elite Hunter is Wile E. Coyote. He's just going to, I want every member of the Elite, give me all of them, and he gets beat by them. Like, they beat him like a drum. Because he's definitely going to lose to Adam Cole. It's just nonsense. Kenny Omega gets a microphone. And Kenny Omega says that he hates being interrupted. Immediately interrupted by Bryan Danielson. Immediately. Omega says, oh, yes, the guy I want to talk to. I want to talk about Bryan Danielson's music. We can do that in a second. Omega then says that he asks all the other guys to leave. Then he says that he wanted to talk to Bryan Danielson, and Danielson took the microphone from him or had another microphone of his own, or however that went, and he basically challenged Omega to the match. And Omega said, that's not how it works here. You can't just challenge me in a match here. That's not how it works in this company. You got to earn it. So Bryan Danielson says that Omega is scared, and that he's going to kick his head in. Omega then threw a punch, to which Danielson countered and almost put him in a LeBell lock. This led to the Elite jumping in, the Jurassic Express coming in, Kazarian coming in. It was a whole big schmoz that led with of course, with the Elite running off. And so we're going straight up with Bryan and Omega. They're not even trying to save that, but they got a pay-per-view to sell, baby. So I'm not mad at them. Go for it. Get it out the way. You got this guy. Do the match everybody wanted to see. Omega, Bryan, it's like Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle. Just go ahead and do it. You might be able to get a series out of it if you do it the right way. If Bryan wins the title, that might be interesting. That would be really interesting. But it'd be even more interesting if he loses. So, because maybe that won't be Bryan's first match. I think he'll probably wrestle a match before the end. But we'll see how it goes. In any event, Danielson is good on the mic, obviously. He's being very straightforward. He's not even acknowledging any of the WWE stuff. He's just kind of like slid back into the American Dragon, where it's almost as if WWE didn't exist. But they still have that hip-hop version of his theme song, which, let me be honest, the shits. All right? It's bad. Now, I know they think they slick, okay, what they're doing. And I think one of my subscribers or somebody who commented on a video recently just called it out. And I noticed it too, that they're all doing some variation of what they were doing in WWE. Like, the reason they didn't use the Final Countdown, they claimed, it was too pricey for Tony Khan. Bullshit. They're not using it because they want you to believe that it's Daniel Bryan from the WWE. That's what they did it for. That's why Adam Cole's theme song is very, very somewhat similar to his WWE Undisputed Era theme. But his new theme is dope, though. Like, I don't know. I forget the guy. I think his name Mickey or Mikey or something like that. Kudos on the Adam Cole theme. It's actually not bad. But he could have gotten something for you, his thing from Ring of Honor, if they really wanted to. They chose not to because they wanted to try to get as much of the WWE stuff on him as possible. But Adam Cole also looks less skinny and less pasty in a black jacket. And we know that's Adam Cole's gimmick. But WWE already has a midget in a black jacket in Finn Balor. We don't need all the midgets running around in black jackets. Sorry. But this segment was anything involving the Elite is the shits. That one member of the Young Bucks, I think it's Matt Jackson. He got like an earring that stretches to his nose. He looks like Prince Albert. Like when Matt Bloom first came to WWE, and he had all those piercings. That shit was gross, dog. Like, I don't know, like, what are they characters? What is the characters of the Young Bucks? What is the character of Kenny Omega? Like, they just being outlandish. Like, that's not a gimmick. It's not a character. It doesn't inform anything about you or what you say. It just seems weird to me. You know, they're trying very, very hard to be cool. And it's like, it's not working. It's like, it's not even working in being corny. Because, you know, like Kurt Angle was trying to be cool. He ended up being corny. John Cena tries to be cool. He ends up being corny. But the Elite, they're not even corny. It's just stupid. You know, like everything they do is just stupid. And I realized I enjoy this show a lot more if all of these assholes, minus Adam Cole, were not on the show. I enjoy this show so much more without the Elite. If I didn't have to watch Kenny Omega try to cut promos and the Young Bucks, if I didn't have to watch those guys, I might actually give positive reviews of this show. Because, you know, there were some things on here to be positive about. But then by the time the Elite come out there, I'm just kind of like, fuck. Everything that involves them is bad, you know? And Adam Cole doesn't have that much talent that he can make these guys interesting. Just, no, he couldn't do it for Kyle O'Reilly. He can't do it for the fucking Young Bucks, man. He's not a miracle worker. He's just a good worker, right? So the main event was Jon Moxley versus Minoru Suzuki, which to me had no business being the main event. Look, I know that hardcore wrestling fans think Minoru Suzuki is the greatest of all time and all that kind of stuff. I don't mythologize the Japanese guys, especially the modern day Japanese guys, the way that a lot of these hardcore wrestling fans do. Like, I know who they are. I know who Minoru Suzuki is. I know his reputation. I've seen matches of his before. I just don't give a fuck, right? Like, I just don't care. Plus, he's old. So, and then we also know that he's not going to win. That's another reason why this match shouldn't have been, like, I know it was a main event because Jon Moxley from Cincinnati. And get a hometown boy a victory. Send everybody home happy. Okay. But this was not a main event as far as I was concerned. And Suzuki got busted open. I don't even know how that happened. But this paradigm shift that is essentially just a butterfly suplex is absolute trash. He needs to stop doing it. He needs to grow up. Be more professional. Learn how to do your goddamn move, dog. Or just do it a normal double arm DDT. You know, you're just doing a butterfly suplex. It's like Dave Taylor or some shit, man. This thing is not good. It's not good. All right, that's AEW Dynamite, man. Show is better than usual because it actually has stars on it. It gave us a decent hook with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. We see what direction they're going in. Adam Cole is directionless. He's a flunky for the Elite now, even though they did give him a little bit of time to do his own thing. They didn't give him his own feud, which, you know, I would have had Adam Cole be the guy that, you know, Danielson has to beat in order to get a title shot, and maybe we'll get there. But we'll see. The rest of the show, you know, Dante Martin and Hobbs is probably the match of the night as far as I'm concerned. That's the match I had most interest in, you know, and that's only because you know, this is the first time I've ever seen these guys work against each other, and I like Hobbs, so hopefully he's all right, and we can try it again next week. Oh boy, this show kills momentum. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.